Permit me to indicate that there are some issues that are institutional that are arising from the conduct of Mr. William Ruto. First of all, we all remember that we enacted a new constitution that was to tame the arbitrariness of the likes of Mr. William Ruto. We all agreed that roadside declarations and policies will no longer become part and parcel of our administrations. But what we saw is that we saw a guy fatigued and having hangovers of the 1963 constitution, going to declare that he has cut off the VAT on fuel. When I look at our constitution, and most importantly, Article 97, it tells me that the only person who has the power of legislation is Parliament. So we then thereafter so hurriedly an attempt to amend that particular provision. And then you ask yourself, where did this legislative proposal arise from? When a legislation proposal arises from the executive, yet we are in a purely presidential system that links itself, parliamentary processes and the executive process are completely delinked. And then the other question is it possible that a law, even if it's an amendment, can take a snap time of less than 24 hours and be short-circuited to ignore all other parliamentary processes? I am not a parliamentarian, but I know there is I know Senator Manzo will advise us better, and Nyakundi. But I understand the first reading, second reading, and third reading. Even to give people an opportunity to interrogate the effectiveness of the proposed legislation. Despite the fact that the legislation was meant to avert a crisis, it doesn't mean that this legislation ought to violate the dictates of the Constitution just because it is meant to appease the people. At any given time, we must never allow ourselves to go outside the dictates of the Constitution, because that is how a country, a man becomes a dictator, that he can rule by decree. Like it was ably put by Professor Hammond, the streets have become the alternative people's voice. The streets have actually been institutionalized by our Constitution. Remember, when we enacted the new Constitution, our objective, our hope, our aspiration, our intention was to make sure that we always remain within the confinement of the institutions as dictated by the Constitution. One of the institutions that the people had trust in was Parliament. The other institution was the institution of the executive. And so it is with the executive of the judiciary. And that is why Article 1 speaks about delegated power, delegation of powers to other institutions. It was our hope that Parliament would always act in the best interest of the people who have constituted it. That at no given time will Parliament go against the voice of the people, being the people's representation, be representing the people. But what has happened is that with the new advent of state capture and institutional capture by Mr. William Ruto, Parliament has lost its position as dictated and aspired by the people of the Republic of Kenya. And that is when the people decided to create some residual power to themselves under Article 1 and under Article 37 of the Constitution, so that this residual power may become the alternative, the alternate platform for the people to exercise their sovereignty. Remember, Article 1 speaks that sovereign power, the people can exercise the sovereign power either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. So when the democratically elected representatives fails the people therefore opt to exercise their sovereignty directly through their residual power of the streets. That is therefore When the people go to the streets, it will be a people's assembly. The people will be assembling there to do what Parliament has failed to do and to do what the executive has failed to do. So the people will be meeting there to legislate through their voice that we do not approve of the high cost of living. Remember, the ball, it is not just about the question of the fuel. It is a holistic aspect of the high cost of living. Therefore, the people will be going to the streets to legislate as against this oppressive and extractive government to make sure that their voice is heard. And this is a constitutional process. It's a process that is known by law and endorsed by law. And therefore, I say we shall be occupying the whole of the country and the whole of Nairobi. The people are the ones who are holding the legislative standing orders. The standing order, number one, that will lead the process will be read by the people when they gather to legislate on that particular day. The people will lead themselves. They are going to read the correct People's Assembly standing order, number one, which will direct the process in which the whole aspect will take until we bring the cost of living down and we bring those responsible of bringing of this high cost of living down. About the saturation and the satisfaction na ile watu wameshiba William Ruto nayo. You know, William Ruto managed the ODM transition, and he was selfishly doing it so for his own gain. And then ODM has realized that William Ruto is inviting them to their political pit. And thus we can see that now they are trying to struggle. They are function speaking different voices. One time, the octogenarian, Dr. Oburu Odinga, the octogenarian is saying, you know, is seen standing and in support of the inept Secretary General in a press conference, indicating their dissatisfaction. The other time, you see him again speaking differently from the position that was taken by the management committee. You realize that ODM is a headless chicken and that ODM has completely outlived its usefulness in the Kenyan political sphere. And that the only person who was sustaining ODM was Raila Odinga. You know, this idea that, and this propaganda that ODM was a national party is completely misrepresentation of facts. The fact is that ODM is a Jaluo party, is a Luo party, and they only started facing serious challenges in Luo Nyanza. That is why they are so keen about the so-called zoning, because they have realized that their partner who is aggressive, William Ruto, really wants to take even what they previously belonged to them. You know, the person who has been making ODM attract some national character has been His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. ODM has been winning in coast, not because of its popularity, but because of its close association with Wiper. And so it is even for Nairobi. And you realize that ODM will not even win.
So why has ODM not, why didn't they run on Wiper?
Either in Nairobi, it will not win a single seat in Coast region because ODM is a Luo political party. It is just a resuscitation of the young Kavilondo Association.
Dibal, with all due respect, Dibal,
previously provided.
No, Dibal, with all due respect, we cannot allow that to happen.
So
Ndegwa is not saying the truth.
I can explain.
No. Ndegwa is not being honest. ODM is not like DCP that is in the village of Onyoro. No.
And they have
ODM is a movement. If you recall, ODM has even produced MP in Central Kenya, in Mount Kenya.
It has even lost its anchor. It has lost its political anchor in Western. ODM is no longer popular even in Western. You wait and see how many seats the United Opposition is going to sweep in Western region. ODM is a political party. You can see the leadership of ODM. It's weak. It has been weakened. and deliberately playing to the tune and to the music.
Ndegwa,